I felt like I had to be accepted, or everybody had to agree. Like, or even when you playing a song in the car, you look over to see if the person's like bobbing their head.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? You look over to see if the person's bobbing their head. Right?
That's a real. When you play a song, are they feeling it?
Like, and then if they're not, you're like, all right, I gotta change the song. I gotta change the song.
What up? We back with another edition of Freewenow.
Till it is backwards.
Yes, sir, ski. And today we got some great content for you, and we're gonna switch it up today, right? So this is a new topic that we're gonna do called putting your realest foot forward, right? And I'll let Keith describe it a little bit more because this was his idea, and I was like, yeah, let's go for it, right? So it's kind of like. Well, you go. You tell him, and I'll give you my take.
So me and Hassan were having a conversation on the phone, right? And it was maybe a month or two ago, and we were talking about the podcast and where we see it going, how we present ourselves, and how we wanted to capture the authenticity of who we were when we were behind the camera or in front of the camera, right? And it seemed like a lot of times we put our best foot forward, but not our real foot forward. And when I mean that is when you have time to rehearse certain things, you have time to go over your course correcting for the inadequacies that you see, or your course correcting for, trying to make it showbiz, right? But what we wanted to catch was the authentic banter that we had when we were on the phone, when nobody else was watching, when we were just talking, right? When it didn't matter what our comments meant because we know each other as individuals, so we weren't going to take it any type of way, right? So that's why we came out with this segment called Real Foot Forward, right? So what we did is we each individually wrote down questions that the other person has not seen, and we're going to ask, and we're going to see the real raw reactions to what the questions are.
Right. No, for sure. And my take is like, it's a difference between a freestyle and like a rehearsed verse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going to give you both, but sometimes them freestyles is what make you, it's what the promotion and the hype up for the music, the rehearsed verse. It's like, all right, but I'm about to put out an album. Let me go on this radio show and do a freestyle, right? Because that freestyle is just going to show you that raw talent, right? It's going to be raw passion, raw emotion. You know what I mean? It's just going to be very genuine. And you kind of become, a fan of that person or that artist based off their freestyles, and then you go take a deeper dive into their music. You know what I mean? But I will say I'm calling out people that make music because a lot of these freestyles aren't freestyles. I thought a freestyle was something that wasn't rehearsed. They give you a topic and you just go in on it, right? A lot of times, I don't know, I'm not a rapper, right? But I feel like we're missing the art of people even wanting to mess up. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, having a freestyle should be literally freestyling off the dome.
Off the dome.
Not something that you had in your phone and you rehearsed it and you go to the radio show and then you rehearse it and now I'm going to put it out and like, look at me. Like, no. I'm looking for somebody that's got raw talent, that's pure, that's like, yo, whatever, put on the beat, I'm going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's my guy's name? Toby Nwigwe, right? Toby Nwigwe, one of my, favorite artists. Right, he has some freestyles on YouTube. Go look him up, and you can tell he's actually freestyling. You know what I'm saying? I like when somebody's freestyling. They freestyling about the room, what you wearing, the reaction to what you just said. You know what I mean? Like that's how they be like, oh snap, okay, you can go. You know what I'm saying? So, in a nutshell, pause. That's what I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? And that was a raw reaction, right? So that's what I wanted to get across from my perspective after hearing Keith's idea, and I'll be like, yeah, let's do it. So start us off, bro. Ski.
All right, I'm gonna start with a question, right?
All right.
So in this world of ever progressing technology, how do you balance the necessity of keeping up with it, but not forgetting the tangible skills of doing without it? So what I mean by this, like, it's so important to upkeep with technology, right? If you don't, you fall behind in a lot of things in this world, right? But some of the biggest things is knowing how to do without it, right? Using a calculator. You can do math off the calculator, but if you ask somebody quick math, they, right? So how do you balance that? So how do you balance that as yourself, and how are you going to impart that onto your children?
Yeah, now that's a deep question. I think the biggest thing for me is understanding the product or the service, right? Understanding what the technology is, number one, right? And understanding what the purpose of it is, right? So you mentioned the calculator. right? The purpose of a calculator is to make, harder calculations, decrease the time and make it more convenient for you to get to an answer, right? At the same time, right, I still know I have to do math. I have to know how to do math, because I'm not going to understand how this calculator works if I can't add and subtract.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times with technology, or even AI, right, artificial intelligence, what is the purpose of AI? Number one, right? I try to look at the purpose of anything, but for technology, I try to look at the purpose. Okay, what's the purpose of AI? In my opinion, is to make it more convenient and make it easier to do and faster. Right. So reducing time and speed is for AI. Right. But I'm not going to be able to reduce time and speed if I don't even know the basics. I'm not even going to be able to, I won't even be able to understand what AI is and what can it provide and how far I can even take it if I don't even have a foundation. You know what I'm saying? So like, even with the pod, right? Like, okay, we're creative and we have a mission. How can we reduce time and speed using this AI vehicle and technology on our podcast? You know what I mean? Like, how we're already creative. We already have intelligence. Like artificial intelligence, you have to combine that with your own intelligence to create enhanced intelligence, right? So that was my take of, understanding the purpose. To wrap it up, understanding the purpose of it, having a foundation for how I want to use this new purpose technology, combine it with my foundation, right? And then take it off. So now I can, produce and be more efficient.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How do you do that? And I guess what I didn't address is my kids. I forgot that part.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So for my kids, right? Like, I think in every situation in life, sometimes it's hard to get the big picture. And so I think I would have to show them, I would have to have intentional time spent in showing them the evolution of technology. Because if you just come into a place and you only know color TV, or you only know a freezer and a refrigerator, or you only know a push button start, your appreciation and ability to create at a higher level will be impacted if you don't know to start. You know what I'm saying? So I would be intentional in history as well, teaching my kids where we came from, where we are now, and then showing them where you can take it based off of knowing all of that. You know what I mean? What is your take, and how would you address that with your kids, bro? And how are you using technology?
I want technology has to remain a complement. It shouldn't be the primary means of getting things done, right?
Right.
Like you said, you wanna have a dream, or you wanna have a passion, you wanna have a gift, or you wanna have something you're working towards, and the knowledge that you have to build that is complemented by the things that you pull from outside. Right. So ChatGPT, AI, the cell phone, the calculator, the refrigerator, whatever you do, you've created that to support your means or what you're getting to, right? But I think one of the biggest things is imparting that same type of mindset into our children, right? Because growing up, like I didn't have certain things, right? Like my cell phone couldn't just go on the internet and search stuff.
Right.
I could drop my cell phone from 7 stories, go pick it up, put the battery back in, it'll be good to go. So like I had a different relationship with technology than my kids did. So the beginning of my life, I had to rely on just straight brain power.
Right.
And then the options of technology started coming in, right? And honestly, when you start off with something, it's kind of a resistance to go towards it, right? So I had to slowly learn that, okay, I still have this basis for me, but now I can implement technology.
Right.
But our kids coming up nowadays, they're immediately thrust into the world of technology. That's why there's 3 and 4-year-olds that have cell phones or that are on iPads and know how to use it better than I do, right? Because that is the basis of their knowledge. But one thing that you have to impart, and a lot of times, is just taking that time aside from the technology and just getting to one-on-one conversations, right? Taking that time aside from playing video games and going outside and skinning your knee, right? So it's understanding that there is work to be done without having the option of technology. And that's what I want to impart on my children. Be able to use technology to support yourself, but also be able to accomplish the journey or the mission without having technology.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you mentioned a great point where you said the relationship. So your relationship to technology. I think your relationship in anything, right, is based off of your perspective. right? So like you having a great relationship with somebody normally is based off you also being able to understand their perspective and them being able to understand your perspective, right? So like you mentioned with like technology, bro, and like our relationship to it and how it's grown really shows you that you can only appreciate something or you can only know how to use technology if you understand the foundation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can only know how to really, enhance something if I understand what it used to be. I don't know how to enhance something that was already enhanced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to take something to the next level. I don't even know how to really understand a plane and how to use a plane to the greatest ability if I didn't understand that like now we don't have to ride horse and buggy to get from California to New York.
Yeah.
Right now I can understand, okay, now I got a plane, I can collapse time and I can take lessons from the history and collapse that to the now. You know what I'm saying? So like I agree with you. And technology, that's a huge one. For me, all right, what do you feel like your superpower is and also your kryptonite? Because I feel like in life, to overcome situations, you have to understand yourself and you have to know how you think and what, if presented with this opportunity or challenge or obstacles, how it would be best for yourself to navigate it and overcome it. You know what I mean? We can understand, okay, well, LeBron has a tendency to do this when he goes to his right hand and when he goes to his left hand. You can analyze everything about LeBron, but you don't know anything about yourself, right? And that's why you're still watching him and you can't even sit courtside because you have never analyzed yourself. Okay. Right. So like what in your life is your superpower and what do you feel like is your kryptonite?
All right. So my superpower, right? I think it's kind of like a couple thing, right? So it's my calmness and my like outlook or like the way I give advice. So growing up, I've always been that individual that people come to for the real, right? Because I give an impartial outlook, right? I've always been able to go through situations and abstain from emotional outbursts. So if I do have it, it's like, whoa, that's not who he is, right? So like even at work, like the way that I speak, the way I talk about certain things, the way I try to motivate people, the way that I impart myself, the way that I'm a friend, the way that I treat my family members, like it's like my superpower. Like I'm so good at it and it's effortless. Like even people pull me aside and is like, bro, do you talk to everybody like that? Do you treat everybody like that? Like one of my sailors literally said, like the way that you communicate with people, the way that you talk to people, the way you encourage people, the way that you're trying to give information to, he was like, you're a good dude. He was like, you're legit a good dude. And I haven't met many people that haven't said that same thing like throughout my life. Like, yo, hey, this is how I feel, bro. But Keith is a good dude. And literally all my friends, my family members say that. Like I remember when I was going to college, a couple of my friends' parents found out they weren't getting to the same college that was, and they were like, yo, I don't know how they're going to do this without Keith being around, right? Because like I was like that steadfast, I was that steadfast person in the group that kept that level head, that kept that kind of like impartiality with myself. Like even when my friends ask for advice, like don't get me wrong, I go to my friends for advice, but when they ask for advice, like I give them that real. Like I'm not telling you the stuff that everybody thinks that oh men are on this side of this. I'm telling you like, hey, that's wrong, but you can do what you want to do, right? So I think my superpower is my ability to abstain from emotional outbursts, and as well as my ability or how I treat people. Right. Now my kryptonite, I think, goes along with my ability. It's sometimes it's being accepted. Like a lot of it was one thing that was hard for me to admit, right? Like you want to be accepted by everybody. Sometimes I caught myself looking for the acceptance of others to verify how I felt. Like I wouldn't say something because I didn't want people to look at it and be like, nah, that doesn't make sense, or that's not real. I don't like that idea, right? So sometimes I would keep that in myself because like I was like, I don't want to be the outlier. I don't want to be the person that essentially like thinks for themselves and nobody else agrees for it, right? And that was literally my kryptonite. And sometimes I feel myself doing that, like even just with little things that may not be as big, but like I I felt like I had to be accepted, or everybody had to agree. Like, or even when you playing a song in the car, you look over to see if the person's like bobbing their head.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? You look over to see if the person's bobbing their head. Right?
That's a real. When you play a song, are they feeling it?
And then if they're not, you're like, all right, I gotta change the song. I gotta change the song. But that like on a grand scale when I was coming up, right? Just because I feel like I was a late bloomer in life, right? It took me a minute to come into my own, to become myself, to get bigger, to become attractive. You know what I'm saying? To get my dressing right, to get my mind right. It took me a while, like, and a lot of my friends were progressing a lot faster than I was, right? So, you know what I'm saying, I had to discover in myself, why did I feel that way, right? So I would say that was my kryptonite, is just wanting to be accepted by everybody, but not also taking on the true fact of my individuality.
That's deep, bro. That's deep, because I've had, dealing challenges with that as well, and especially. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day, right? I was talking to them and I said, you know what's interesting? And this was a topic based off things that I've been seeing on social media. They talk about love languages, right? And then it's something about when you say my love language is words of affirmation, right? A lot of times people say that if that is your love language, you say it kind of quietly, as if you're not confident, or as if you're full of yourself, or as if your love language style is on a lesser value because you say words of affirmation, as if, I just want to hear compliments all the time. When I realized, bro, is that even God wants praise and worship.
Yeah, he does.
Even God, you may say, I love you, God, but you didn't tell me.
Yeah.
I love you, God, but you didn't take time out of your day to worship me and thank me and tell me that you appreciate me and I'm thankful and I'm grateful. You didn't show me that, right? Like, you show faith through your works. Faith without works is dead, right? So you don't show me that. So if you say, oh, well, you talking to your spouse or you talking to your partner, whatever, right? And y'all in a relationship and you never tell them that you love them. You never tell your kids that you love them. You never tell your parents or your loved ones that you love them. But then you get defensive when they say, well, you never showed me that, or you never told me that. But that
I love you.
My point is that even within myself, to your point of like but desiring for somebody to show that, right? I had to realize, like, bro, that's okay, because a lot of times the things that we feel on the inside of us, we were made in God's image. That comes from God too, though. Because even God, they was like, bro, every person in the Bible, men especially, that have favor, they walk with God. And then they did what? They built an altar.
Built altars.
You know what I'm saying? So
praise God.
They praised God. You know what I'm saying? So every person that God favor, y'all talking about favor ain't fair. Let me show you how you get favor. You start praising God. You start building up an altar. And like, on that note, to bring a long story longer, right? Bottom line up front, to beat a dead horse. What I'm saying is that I can connect with you and I feel you on that. And how I got over it was knowing that even God wants praise and worship. So it's not a bad thing to say, hey, your love language is words of affirmation, or hey, I desire for us to be on the same page. I desire for you to like what I like. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're not going to make it to where that's how you rule your life.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't be.
You know what I'm saying? And now you can't grow because you stuck in that.
Yeah.
But there is a part of everyone that everybody, wants to be like, well, I don't care what nobody think. You're lying.
Yeah. You do want to be accepted. I had to get out of that just being my primary focus. I do want to give one shout out, right, to a person that no matter what has always done this for me, my pops. I'm talking about our phone conversations could be 1 minute, 2 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, doesn't matter how long. Before he gets off the phone, one of the things he says, I'm so proud of you. You're doing great things. I appreciate you. I love you. Like, no matter what. Even when I get tired of hearing it, he says it, right? So shout out to you, Pops, for doing that.
Shout out to Pops. All
right, so another question, all right? As we get older, certain things just don't feel the same no more. You get tired. You don't got the same patience. So as you gotten older, what is one area your patience has grown thin in?
Wasting my time, inefficiency.
Yeah.
Like, I try not to be short with people. And so for me, bro, you probably got, like, if we have a conversation, you probably got like 30 seconds for me to tune in to what you're saying, especially if I don't know you, right? Like if you're just coming up to me and you're speaking, and I take great practice in being a great listener, right? And being an active listener. So I can pretty much tell you, for the most part, about a person based off of the first initial conversation that I had with you, right? So as I'm growing older, I'm realizing like I have less time and I care less about conversations, people, and things that don't serve me, right? And serve not me, but my purpose and my alignment with God. So if like we were on a conversation we were on a Zoom call the other day, bro, about the investment club. And it was in my opinion, right? We could have saved a lot of time if we would have just prepared better.
Yeah.
Right. And so my thing is like, hey, let's just table this conversation 10, 15 minutes in. It seems that we're not prepared, and that's fine. But what I don't want is another 45 minutes of my time being wasted talking about all the things that we could have done or we should do, when you can just shoot that to me in an email. I can do them, and then now we can spend an hour really diving deep into it. Right. Like I understand, bro, time is your greatest resource. Right. It's something that you don't get back. That's why I also don't understand people risking their time and their freedom to go sit in a jail cell based off a momentary decision. That's something that you don't get back.
Yeah.
Over thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars, or somebody attacked your manhood, right? Like, I know that I cannot be arrogant and cocky enough that tomorrow's promised. You know what I'm saying? I know that this is a resource. Time is a resource that only God can replenish. You know what I mean? Like, that's not something that I can do on my own will, right? So like efficiency, time, I'm also fascinated with time, right? And I'm ranting. That's how you know I'm fascinated about it, right? This is my thing, right? About time travel. I feel like we're already time traveling. Imagine this. Keith, you in Cali right now. I fly to New York.
Time difference.
There's a time difference, but I can FaceTime you, and you can technically be in yesterday because you're 3 hours behind New York. I can be 3 hours ahead of you in New York, right? But we're talking at the same time. So you telling me, bro, it's Sunday here, but it's Monday where I'm at, but we're talking at the same time? Essentially, I've time traveled, because distance, when we think about it, time and distance, right? How do you associate, yo, I'm about to pull up? Well, how far are you away? That's distance. You don't say, hey, I'm 20 miles. You say, hey, I'm 15 minutes, right? Like, so we, even in our brains, we associate distance and time as the same thing. How far are we away from the sun? We're a light year, right? How far, how do we, okay, what is a light year? Oh, that's 93 million miles, right? So like, essentially, distance and time is just a reference point.
Synonymous.
It's just how we are able to communicate to understand things. And so my vision is, and what I believe is that somebody can be in Japan, like the example I gave with Cali in New York, you being yesterday, and I can fly to Hawaii. I can be in today, fly to Hawaii because they're behind us. And I just went back to yesterday.
Yeah.
And now I can live through yesterday as today and then go into tomorrow. And you've already experienced it. Yeah. So my thing is, as technology gets better, right, as we are able to go further and faster distance, go a further distance in a faster amount of time, essentially we'll be able to time travel.
Yeah.
And we're already doing it right now. To answer your point, my thing is, I don't like my time wasted. I don't like inefficiencies. And so I'm a stickler, bro, right, for efficiency, right? And it's also even caused me to look at myself in the mirror and stop being late and showing up late to places.
Yeah, that boy always late.
You feel me? Because I ain't gonna lie, Keith would be like, I'm ready to go. We're doing it. I'm like, bro, chill, bro. We got time. We chill, bro, chill. We got time. But now I realize we don't have time, right? And I'm not perfect yet, right? But I'm getting there, right? And I'm realizing if I don't want my time wasted, I can't waste somebody else's time, because people treat you the way you treat yourself, right? People treat you the way you treat yourself. So if I treat like my time is it's essential, right?
Everybody else is gonna do that.
Everybody's gonna be like, okay, cool. We got him here. Let's be efficient. I can impact somebody else's perception of me and how they treat me and my experience of them by just treating myself better. Cool. Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry I ran it.
Nah, you good. You had to get it off. Real foot forward. You feel me?
Yeah, that was my realest foot forward. That was definitely my realest foot forward. Okay. What is, I guess, the nerdiest thing about you, or something that you feel like, man, this is a little nerdy about me, but you really enjoy it?
What is the nerdiest thing about me, but I really enjoy it?
Or something that you do that people may think is weird.
Dang. I was not expecting this one, right? So like.
Also, we don't show the questions before. You know what I mean? Like, this is just honest reactions.
The nerdiest thing that I do that I feel like people would think I'm weird for. I don't think there's something that I think people would think I'm weird for. But I guess it would center around like the type of stuff that I like to watch and do. Like of course I love video games and stuff like that. I love to watch different type of shows. Actually, I like very corny stuff. So I would think a lot of people would think I'm weird. Like, I love watching corny movies. Like, I like corny movies, corny TV shows. Yeah. I like looking at corny posts. Like, I think it's fun. Like, it's something inviting. Like, it's almost getting outside of your comfort zone to be able to put something corny out, right? So I guess that's
being vulnerable.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Like, it's like the sense of being vulnerable by putting something out that you know is not funny, right? It's funny because it's so not funny, right?
So you're a dad joke type.
Yeah,
guy.
like a dad joke type dude. Like, it's so funny because it's not funny.
Because it's not funny, right?
Even growing up, me and my pops would watch corny movies just because it was like we thought it was funny that it was so corny. Right. So I think just taking that and attribute, just having the insight or the ability to put something out that maybe you believe so much into that nobody would give you the type of recognition you deserve. Like having that impartialness to just be like, I'm gonna put this out, though I know nobody thinks it's funny. I think it's funny, so that's how I'm gonna do it. And just the fact that you are so outside of the realm of what people would consider, that it becomes something that is a part of that realm, essentially, right? Like, it's so outside of the realm of just standard comedy that it's comedy because it's not comedy, right? So, like, I guess just having corny videos, right? Corny videos is just something I like to watch all the time. I do it all the time. I be on TikTok watching corny stuff. I got corny stuff queued on YouTube. Like, I just love corny stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, that's real. That's what's up. I think you talked about an interesting point of that, though, about being vulnerable enough to even put that out or even say something that's super corny just because you're like, I like it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what? You know what I'm saying? I like this. It's funny. It's so not funny that it is funny, right? So yeah, it is very a vulnerable piece. And a lot of times I think, bro, even with, all right, I'm not gonna rant, but just going to a party or a social event and they're playing music and nobody's dancing, and if you're dancing, you're corny. Yeah. Or if you're dancing, you're lame. Or if you're actually enjoying yourself, if you're actually having fun, like if you're not posted up on the wall being cool, if you're not on your phone, like yes. Yeah. So like that goes into like, I agree with you too.
This reminds me of this video I seen. So it was a teacher who said you can write a 10,000 word essay or you can come up in the front of the class and dance. And it was one student in the whole class that went up there and was going crazy dancing, right? And he was like, all right, who wants to do the 10,000 word essay? Everybody was like this, right? And I'm like, bro, like, y'all are so against being considered corny for that one moment that you would sit here and write a 10,000 word essay. Bro, I would have been up there pop locking and dropping it, doing a stanky leg, you know what I'm saying, pin drop. I would have been going crazy. It was like 15 seconds, right? But like, they were so against being called corny that they wouldn't do it, right? So just something as simple as that. Right. All right, man, another one, right? So what is one of the toughest decisions you ever had to make? How has it changed you and shaped your life outlook? And what advice would you give people in regards to it?
The toughest changes, I think, honestly, bro, it kind of goes to what you just said, bro. Knowing that I have a gift, or knowing that I was gifted and having a gift, and it being directly attached to God, and me thinking I was going to lose cool points because I know that I'm connected to God. Like, I know that I'm spending time with God. Like, growing up, like, I would, all right. Honest reaction. Growing up, I would get a lot of, I guess, accolades or awards, right? But what they didn't know is that like every Sunday I was in church. You feel me? Like, and like when we were at home, my mom was pouring into me, my grandma was pouring into me like spiritual growth. You feel me? Like I would go to like spiritual growth classes with my mom.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was reading, like she had this, she was a part of like this network marketing thing. Right. Well, by the time I got to like middle school, and they were selling a product. Right. But with the network marketing, it was a lot of self-development going on. And they would give these books to my mom to read. And then my mom would give them to me and be like, hey, check them out and read them. Or we would sit and talk about them and how she was growing as a person. So I was kind of catching that offspring of her growing. So I was growing. Right. So I would spend a lot of time with God. I would pray to God a lot. I would just know that I was different. But also, like you mentioned earlier, still trying to like fit in and not show that. Not shining a light on, like, I would never say a prayer in public. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never be the guy, like, if somebody's like, hey, who wants to pray? I wasn't going to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't going to be the person that was, like, doing anything that showed outwardly connection to God, which is crazy to say, considering what we're doing now, because I just felt like that's not.
It was taboo.
You know what I mean? And, like, they were going to think that I was different or weird, or I wasn't, or you were gonna come around me and start acting different, or not invite me to things because you felt like if you did, I was gonna be judgmental of you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like I always knew, bro, at a young age that like I had a special connection to God, and me never vocalizing that and me never wanting to show God any like outwardly praise or emotion, because I just rather hold it all in and be cool and be calm. And like a lot of times growing up, bro, I would show my personality sometimes, but I felt like even in my craft and when I was playing sports, I could have shown my personality more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that would be overall it, just not showing my outwardness and love for God, and being like, hey, I couldn't have done it without God. Like, I wouldn't have what I have if it wasn't for him and what he's doing for me. So I always knew that, and I've always kind of ran from it, and I always was able to interpret the Bible, and it always just sunk into me. You know what I'm saying? So like that was something for me that like I really had to get over, and like I'm still getting over it now. And like even if you watch our content, how we've progressed from what we used to talk about to now has even been a challenge for me. You know what I'm saying? And even kind of like talking about it right now, I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
You feel
like,
a little weird doing it now.
But like I have to though, because I understand that I can't keep running from it, and I'll never be fulfilled if I do.
Nah, that's huge, bro. Because I think when you said like you didn't want to show that outward expression to God, I think about times that I thought of praying in public, or like even just saying grace over food. You're kind of like,
yeah, bro.
Or you're
even praising worship in church and putting your hands up.
Yeah. Or you're like in a room and you're praying and somebody walks in the room and you stop and you act like you were doing something normal, right? It's like,
but why do we do that?
I don't understand it, bro. I never got it.
But okay, is that a Christian thing or is that a Muslim thing? Because I feel like other religions, other faiths, they can pray in public and it'd be like, oh, my bad, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or like, oh, okay, you know what I'm saying? But like, there's a reverence to it. But like for us, I'll be like, oh, yeah.
I really think it's just a comfortability sense, right? It's understanding that even like we said before, even if other people don't agree with me doing this, I'm doing it because it's for me, right? It's for God, so it shouldn't matter what anybody views. I think it's just like the sight of, if you were the outside person coming to a room and somebody's like talking to themselves praying, you'd be like, what? So like you're putting that in your mindset while you're praying. When you hear the door open, you're like, oh, let me stop. Oh yeah, I'm doing something regular, right? But it's just getting comfortable in that sense of understanding that it doesn't matter if it's accepted or not. It's what you truly believe in.
Yeah, no, for sure, bro. Okay, last one. What is your biggest regret in life?
Giving up on my first dream. So my biggest regret in life, and I think about it honestly a lot, maybe in a almost obsessive mindset, right? So my entire life when I was growing up, I wanted to be a football player. Like I was so convinced. I used to tell my mom all the time, I'm going to NFL. She would come to the game. She's like, those kids are big. I was like, but they can't hold me. You know what I'm saying? They can't stop me. They can't hold me, right?
Yeah.
And I was good, bro. Like I knew I was good, right?
Yeah.
But I allowed other people's thoughts to become what I thought of myself, right? So like growing up, you know what I'm saying, in middle school, elementary school, I was killing it, bro. Nobody could stop me. I was always scoring touchdowns, all these different things. I was the coldest, right? And then I came to Texas, which is a completely different football experience than when you're living on the East Coast. Boys out in Texas, they built different. I'm not even trying to play with you. They built different, right? But I came over and I was still kind of dominated, but like my personality at that sense, like I said, getting comfortable with who I was very reserved, right? So even though I was making plays and doing certain things, people didn't recognize it because I wasn't the like flashy type, right? You know, I'm scoring, but you know what I'm saying, my swag on the field wasn't that crazy, or I was just a little guy or whatever. So that mindset kind of followed me. So when I would get put on teams or getting put in positions, or I wouldn't get the ball as much as I would do, I started thinking to myself like, yeah, you're not meant for this. You're not good enough to do this, right? I would get up and work out for a week, like a little extra workouts, and then I'd stop and I'd get into it. And then it got to the point where I started telling people, oh, the reason I'm not playing is because I got hurt. Or the reason I'm not playing is because I lost a love for football, or it became a job. And that wasn't truly what I thought. I was just finding excuses to tell people why I truly gave up on my dream. I gave up on it because I didn't believe in myself enough. Like I truly gave up on playing football and trying to go for it because I did not believe in myself. Like I didn't believe in myself, so I didn't want to put in that extra work, right? Other people had these thoughts of us, so I didn't want to put in that extra work, right? So that is really the true, like one of my biggest regrets is, even outside of the football sense, it was doubting myself. It was doubting myself because of the thoughts of other people and other people not realizing what I truly had to give. So like, I even think about that and I'm like, how could you ever, like, I'm always like, I want to rewind time, and I will be grinding every morning. I would be doing this and doing this and doing this. But now it's like, it's too late for that. Really, it's really too late for the football thing. But now I'm putting that into a different sense in what we're doing right here. Like I will never look at myself through the eyes of somebody else and doubt what I have to offer, because that takes away my true gift or reason. And maybe that was all lead up to getting to this point, right? But even in that sense, having to go through that and really coming back and reflecting and saying, dang, you thought so little of yourself that you gave up on something that you love so much because of somebody else. You allow somebody else's belief to become what you believed in yourself. But that's my biggest regret.
Bro, on that, bro, you remind me of like me in baseball, bro. So like you talking about like football being different in Texas. I think sports, especially football and baseball, are totally different in the South.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, that for me, and we can hit on that another time. I gotta remind you of that. But playing baseball in Alabama in the 2000s, it was not a sport for black people.
Yeah.
And if you would go play baseball, you would, especially growing up in Birmingham, you either did football or basketball. And I remember it was like certain days where it was like, okay, am I going to go play AAU basketball, or am I going to go to my travel ball for baseball workouts? Right. And I allowed the perspective, I think, of our culture and the lack of support that I would feel just from a society for black people in baseball, that I allowed that to kind of shape my opinion on me playing baseball. You feel me? Because obviously I played basketball in college, but I feel like, and my pop still be on me to this day, he be like, bro, like you could have been in the major leagues. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like you said, I let the opinions of others to kind of shy me away from even going hard in baseball and like sticking with it, and you know, who knows, becoming whatever. But overall, I think, you know, I now stand on what I believe in, and it has shown me not to care about what other people think, and like you said, even allowing my personality to be shown, right? Because I even noticed the thing about people who are ultra successful, they have a personality. People that are billionaires, if you look at Mark Cuban, if you meet or see in an interview, ultra successful people have I don't want to say a carefree attitude, but they have embraced who they are to the utmost position, to where it really doesn't matter your impression or your perception of them, because they know who they are and they're going to be themselves regardless if you like it or not. Yeah. I was reading this book called The 5 a.m. Club, and we'll wrap it up after this. I was reading The 5 a.m. Club, and they were talking about this billionaire in that book and how just carefree, and how his personality at first seemed a little weird because it's not something that you're used to. But over time, they embraced who they were based on this billionaire's actions in this book called The 5 a.m. Club, and how this billionaire was just full of life and energetic, and just kind of just was like, I'm gonna show you who I am, and you can like it or love it or screw you. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with you on that one. Any last words, man, to wrap it up?
Nah, man. Honestly, bro, believe in yourself. Believe in what you're doing. Go for it relentlessly. Educate yourself about it, how to be better, how to do it differently, and just understand that you were put on this earth for something, right? God has something in store for you. You have a gift. Utilize it.
Absolutely. And what he said, like this podcast is meant to get you free. So free we now
till it is back.
So we're talking about things that we dealt with as well, and being vulnerable and let you insight on our lives, because we can't expect you to do something that we're not willing to do, right? And we want our audience, as we grow, we want you guys to grow, not just in numbers, right, but also on self-development in a one-on-one aspect, on the individual of who you are, your character. As we grow and our content gets better, we want that to be reflective in who you are in our audience as well. So, hey, man, we enjoyed this. This was a great day. This was freeing for us. I hope y'all got fed today. And it's Freewenow.
Till it is backwards.
Yes, sir. Ski.